Angel Reese is an unrivaled champion. Is she going to be a WNBA champion next? We're going to figure that out. Today, of all days, we're going to figure it out right here on CHGO Sky. Roll the countdown. Skytown. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful day in the city of Chicago. We are so excited to be here with you. We've got a lot to get to. Obviously, Angel adding a championship to her collection. Kamilla Cardoso killing it out in China this offseason. And training camp is right around the corner. Before we get to any of that, let's bring in my co-host, Stephen Garner. Stephen, how's it going out there in Arizona?
It's going great. It's early, but there's a lot of basketball stuff going on. And now that Unrivaled has officially finished the inaugural season, we have a lot to assess with Angel Reese. And now that Kamilla Cardoso season is finished over in China, we also have a lot to assess with her. So I'm looking forward to doing all of that on this fine Tuesday.
Yeah, we've got a ton to get to. Let's start with Angel Reese because, as I mentioned, adding another championship, she missed the last 2 games with a wrist injury. I think we can get into that a little bit. But just Angel's season with Unrivaled as a whole. She was able to put together a really good Unrivaled season. You see there some of her numbers and her accolades with Unrivaled. She won Defensive Player of the Year, and she recorded the first 20-20 game in Unrivaled history, 20 points, 20 rebounds, averaging a double-double, just, normal Angel Reese stuff, no big deal. And just was absolutely dominant. Stephen, what did you see from her in Unrivaled as far as growth that makes you look forward to seeing her in the WNBA season?
I think the first thing that we can kind of point to is just continuing to build reps on a professional level with her defensive versatility, switching, hedging, just being a wrecking ball on defense, quite honestly. Just finding ways to create activity, getting deflections, communication with her teammates, which grows even more pertinent when you're playing in the space that 3-on-3 concedes. And she was just on schedule with so much of what she did, to the extent that where she won the Defensive Player of the Year. And that's no small feat when you're sharing a league with players like Alyssa Thomas, Breonna Stewart, Nafisa Collier, Brittany Griner. Like, that's not anything to scoff at in any capacity. And the fact that she was able to garner that in the inaugural season really just speaks to how she's continuing to step into her own amongst some of the names that have grown to be household names on the WNBA level.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, seeing her share the court with really dominant players and defend really dominant players really well was so impressive. And I think for me, one of the things that was really encouraging to see is her finishing. Getting to the rim and, making that shots that she maybe would have missed last season was so impressive for me. I really appreciated her footwork that seemed to be getting a lot better. And yeah, I think this is a really dominant look for her in the WNBA offseason, and good for her getting that $50K bag, man. Angel always gets her bag, and you love to see it.
Yeah, definitely. I think and I'll say it in the abbreviated version, the B2A tour definitely had its inception point start with her Unrivaled season. And I think she'll be looking to not single, not double, not triple, but quadruple down on that come WNBA season in a few months. I think that we mentioned it on the last episode, but this couldn't have come at a better time in her career for her first opportunity to actually get work in between seasons and not go from one season directly into the next. I think she took the opportunities that were presented to her and made the absolute most of them. Time spent with time spent with Lisa Leslie that led to interactions on the court with Nafisa Collier. I think that she has a way of getting under people's skin, and it's in a way that's conducive to raising the floor or the level of competition for everybody that's on the floor, whether it be her direct teammates, herself, or her opponents. And that is one of the telltale signs of a great, not just a good player, not just an above average player, but a great player. Because great players are going to get the most out of their opponents as well as themselves, as well as their teammates. And we saw that time and time again. I think the antics, and I mean antics in an endearing way, that took place between her and the Lunar Owls, and stealing stealing some of the little gestures and whatnot that were going on between each of the respective teams, and then seeing it obviously get taken back to her in the moments where they lost or in moments where they were a little bit behind other teams over the season. Those things matter. Those things really stand out, and it just again speaks to her star ascension as she continues to step into her own. But if I could speak to one last thing, you talked about the footwork and you talked about her finishing around the basket, which I think are all important as well. I think the shooting that she showed, the shooting off the dribble, the comfortability with the handle, the grabbing goes, for her leading and rebounding, and also being something that translates to the W as well with her, to be able to start converting some of those rebounds that she grabs into grabbing goals instead of trying to find a guard to outlet it to, is going to uptick the pace and just create so much more offense and so much more randomness for the Chicago Sky to kind of, I guess, duck in a sense, playing in a half court all the time. That's going to be something that really breaks up things for them and unlocks new pace, new tempo. And then the last thing for Angel, which I think is going to be very important, the playmaking. If she's gonna have the ball in her hands more, if she's gonna have it in her hands more, especially not on the block or not even below the free throw line, sometimes at the elbow, sometimes past the 3-point line, she's gonna have to be able to make certain passes on the back door, certain passes to players when they get flare screens. She's gonna have to be able to make those passes off of her driving kicks, which are driving her handle is something we've already highlighted. I think when she continues to get more comfortable with that dynamic of her bag, because she certainly has it, but once she gets even more comfortable, even more confident in that, it's truly going to be something that takes her from the level that she's presently at to a level that is going to start to rival some of the MVP caliber players that have been perennial at that stage in the W.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I was trying to quickly look up her field goal percentage just to see what the improvement was, but I can't find the field goal percentage for Unrivaled. But
Yeah.
I agree. The finishing is going to be so important for her going forward. It just is going to, take the Sky's offense to a whole new level. And I'm glad you touched on like her, endearingly, her antics. It's
Mm-hmm.
something that we talked about right after Diana Taurasi retired, like how much that can help a team. And I think you're seeing that with Angel and Unrivaled. And I really hope she carries that over to the WNBA season. Because one of the things that I love about Angel is that she doesn't care what people think of her. And she's willing to do whatever she feels like doing on the court, whether that's, mocking a team after a win or, talking crap online before a game. And I really just hope she carries that over because I think that gives the Sky an edge that they haven't had in a long time. I can't think of a player that they've had that has been that inflammatory for the other team. So I look forward to seeing
It's
that.
it's been since Candace Parker. I'll,
Yep.
I'll go ahead and say that. Candace wore it differently than Angel does, but Candace, it's a certain cloth that those type of players are cut from. Obviously Sylvia Fowles before Candace had that as well, but I think it's those three in particular. If we're speaking about Sky players that play a very similar position, if not the exact same, in multiple respects, especially defensively, they all have that dog in them, and they're gonna bark. And it's going to be a bark that grows contagious for the teammates and also gets under the skin of their opponents because they're just so great at what they do.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we saw that with Candace. That was one of the most fun parts of her career. I tweeted this out from the Sky account if you guys haven't seen it. Before the Unrivaled season started, Candace Parker predicted that the Rose would win the Unrivaled championship. She was the only one on that panel on TNT that predicted it, and the Rose ended up winning. So you could see Candace Parker always right, always, always, always right, and rocking with her, um, her. I don't even know what you would call them, not colleagues, but her kindred spirit, maybe with Angel Reese. So
For sure.
really impressive.
I would
Um,
highly advise for any and everybody. I don't care what the context of basketball is. If Candace Parker is talking into a microphone or into a void in any capacity, listen, please listen, because you're going to learn something. She's going to make you smarter. And she's also going to make you right for your conversations that you might be having on Twitter or at work or with your friends or anywhere else. When the GOAT, my personal GOAT, is talking basketball, you better listen to Candace. She knows what she's speaking to.
Yeah, always listen to Candace Parker. Shout out to the people hanging out in the chat here. I just want to read a couple. David Breason, apologies, saying her shot / finishing is getting better. Tim Bingham saying Angel won championship at college and now Unrivaled. And all the other comments are about Caitlin Clark. Our show is not about Caitlin Clark. So thanks for your views. And that's all. Moving on to Angel's injury. We don't have a ton of information on this, but I do want to briefly touch on it. So Angel missed the last 2 games of the Unrivaled season. The last game that she played, she went out with maybe like 3 minutes left in the third quarter, and she was holding her left wrist, which she had surgery on in September. Steven, how concerning is this for you? Is it concerning at all? And what do you want to hear or see from Angel in the Sky over the next couple weeks that would kind of ease your nerves?
Well, I think that's the beauty of Unrivaled. It's strategically slotted into the calendar to where, for one, it overlaps with free agency, which we saw the frenzy that created in multiple respects. But in addition to that, it's in a pocket of the calendar, that allows for any injuries that may surface to have time to be nursed and rested before training camp starts and the ball starts to roll into WNBA play for training camp and preseason play. So I think that's something that greatly benefits her. Obviously, she got a preemptive start to that before the actual finish to the season. Would have loved to see her play more in the playoffs as well as in the obviously in the championship game, because I feel like she would have helped make that win that much more loud in a positive way. But I think she's fine. I'm not going to panic about it until I get some news that's saying that she's going to miss time, not even just in training camp, but missing potential preseason games. Because I think it's going to be important to have all of the ducks in a row in terms of the roster early on, because you have a new head coach, a completely new style of play that's going to be coming in as far as how they're looking to operate offensively as well as defensively. And they're going to need their leader out there to help to start to build the foundation of the different ways they want to play, but also the culture that they're looking to establish. And as we spoke to last season, she is a culture in and of herself because of her secondary efforts, the blue collar dynamics that she brings to the game, also that fiery competitive nature that, like I spoke to a little bit earlier, raises the level for everybody. That goes for games, but that also goes on behind closed doors at practice as well.
Yeah, I agree. I really would have loved to see Angel play in those high intensity playoff games for Unrivaled. And maybe that's something we'll see this season in the W. Only time will tell. I'm a little bit more concerned, I think. I'm hoping that she flew back to Chicago early because, we wanted to be precautionary. And, Unrivaled felt like they could, win the championship without her. Clearly they were right. But I'm hoping that it was a precautionary move to send her back early. I'm concerned because it's the same wrist, and I'm concerned because there was a lot of time in between that surgery and when this re-injury happened. And I'm hoping it's not something that's chronic. I'm hoping it's not something that comes back again. I don't know. Maybe I'm just scarred from so many Bulls injuries and watching that team all season. I don't know, but yeah, this is concerning for me. I'm not freaking out yet, but it is concerning on some levels because I think we didn't see enough of Angel last season, and I would be very concerned if we had the same thing this season.
Yeah, I mean the concern is warranted, but it just didn't seem like her reaction to everything and the way she's gone about the days since the injury took place. It just hasn't given me personally the idea that it's something that's serious, like serious to the extent where there's going to be significant time missed. So I'll reserve my I guess a emotional reaction in response to that until we kind of get some more news on it. But at this moment, I'm cool with it. I feel like if she gets a little bit of a head start to getting a little bit of rest potentially, I think that's a positive for her. And yeah, we'll see over the coming weeks for sure before training camp. I'm sure we'll hear something from the sky regarding that injury if Angel doesn't break it herself on her podcast.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Hopefully she breaks it on her own podcast. That'd be awesome. Anyway, let's take a break real quick, and then we will get into Kamilla Cardoso on the other side. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. Sunnyside is a one-stop shop for all of your cannabis needs. Sunnyside has an expertly curated menu with over 100 strains to choose from, plus easy online ordering and in-store pickup. If you're just starting out, Sunnyside has expert guidance and brands we know and love. If you're a pro, we've got you covered with over 100 strains on the menu and new ones added daily. Visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois Med Card holders. We're also sponsored by Shady Rays. Our friends at Shady Rays are helping you get in the right frame of mind with their premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. It's getting pretty warm out here in Chicago. You guys need the shades. That's where we're at right now. Sean told me it was like 64 degrees outside. That is shades weather. Their sunglasses have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures. With so many colors available, maybe you'll even find sky colors. I don't know. Check it out. If your shades ever go missing or take an unexpected hit, don't sweat it. They have the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair is backed by their lost or broken replacement program. If you don't love your shades and you're picky like me, exchange for a new pair or return worry-free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back with personal and fast support. All right. Let's get into the other half of the skyscrapers here. That's my new nickname for them, by the way. I know other people have said it, but I'm claiming it as mine. And I absolutely love it. So, Kamilla Cardoso out in China this offseason. Let's get into it. Let's take a look at her numbers first. Joey, if you have those. So obviously not competing against, teams full of WNBA talent. There are several WNBA players that play in the same league as Kamilla Cardoso out in China. But 22 points a game, 11 rebounds, again, averaging a double-double. In her last game of the season, she put up 25 points and 18 rebounds. Encouraging numbers. Steven, I'm curious to get your reaction before I launch into my soliloquy about what this means for her, in my opinion.
Yeah, Kamilla has had some fun in her offseason. And I put that in quotations because she's been working. And I think the way that she's been featured with her team over in Shanghai, I think there's a little bit of overlap with how I could potentially see her being featured with Tyler Marsh's offense. But I think there's also some overlap with what we saw from her in China defensively as well. They were able to kind of lean into the versatility that she has in abundance, quite honestly. And I think that's something that Tyler is going to look to really start to explore and see just how much he can get out of her in that respect, to be disruptive on defense and always keep them ahead of the offense by being able to steal pace, steal flow with her hedging. In emergency situations, her being able to switch and kind of either funnel players to a certain pocket of the court or maybe just even potentially slide her feet and hope to get a stop or just pressure them into picking up a dribble in different ways like that. So Kamilla has been ever active. I think maybe the thing that she's gotten the best reps with in her stint over in China, probably 2 things for me: the finishing around the basket. Been different types of entry passes than she saw last season with the Sky. And I think that's going to even be to a higher level in terms of the skill that she'll be working with in the Sky offense this upcoming season. The passes weren't always the best, but she experimented with getting catches sometimes below her waist, being able to bring it back to above her shoulders to where almost no one else can touch the ball or deter her shot, and then finishing and playing through contact a whole lot. I think those reps probably were the most valuable. And then outside of that, the passing and the playmaking for her. Playmaking from the elbow, the extended elbow, from the block, from the mid post area. Sometimes playing off of the double teams that she's seeing, being able to turn a pivot or anticipate it sometimes and make a pass, anticipating the type of rotations that a defense might be making to kind of funnel her or shrink the floor on her. I think those reps are all very valuable, and I think her processing speed, just because of those game reps that she's been getting all season, will kind of translate well in terms of her maybe being potentially ahead of the curve where she was at the end of last season before she was out the last couple of games.
Yeah, I am curious to see how she works in Tyler Marsh's offseason. Sorry, in his offense.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of changes we're going to see between last season's offense and this season. And also, we just didn't see enough of Kamilla last season. Same thing, with, as we were saying with Angel. Like, I just want to see more of her. I want to see what she can do. For me personally, seeing her numbers from China, like I mentioned, she's not playing against, teams full of WNBA players. There are WNBA players over there. And let me clarify this by saying that the players over there are extremely talented, and I don't want this to take anything away from them. But when I look at Kamilla's numbers from China, what I'm seeing is that she is healthy. And that's really what I'm taking away from it. I'm not worried as much about, the fact that she's averaging these great numbers as, a sign of what's to come in the WNBA season. I do think that, this is a good sign. But for me, what it says is that she's healthy. That shoulder is healthy, especially when you look at those block numbers. I think it's showing that she's healthy. And that's really, really encouraging for me because we didn't see her here, obviously in the U.S., like playing in Unrivaled or playing in Athletes Unlimited in the off season. So healthy shoulder, healthy Kamilla is really what I'm taking away from this.
Yeah, that should be something that's somewhat scary for opponents going into this W season, because the Sky have two players that they can always play the game on their terms, their being the team on the Sky terms, because they can grab rebounds at the volumes in which they can do on both sides of the court, not just defensively but also offensively. And that becomes an offense in and of itself, because offensive rebounds lead to some of the best advantages that can be created. And when you're constantly able to keep teams to one shot on goal when you're on defense because you're grabbing the rebounds after the misses, that starts to weigh on opponents, because those are margins that are hard to kind of overcome when the Sky have it baked into their game by game process that they can just simply dominate the boards because of the two players that they have in the front court more often than not. And even if it's just one of those two on the court, they still have the best rebound on the court in almost every matchup. And that's something that can really be built around in terms of their gamely process with Tyler Marsh. And I think that um, for as for as elite as Angel was in offensive rebounding and just general rebounding and board presence, rebound percentage last season, Kamilla is going to, in a positive, complementary way, honestly compete with her on that this season. And I think that them being able to compete for something that's so important, rebounding being one of the most important things, is not looked at it, but it's as one of the most important things over the course of a game. That's going to be something that helps the Sky get to where they ultimately desire to be. That's a little bit of foreshadowing into the last kind of conversation we're gonna have here. But just generally speaking, Kamilla has been in a great space, and the health part that you spoke to is as important as anything else.
Yeah, I love what you said about how that should scare opposing teams. And I absolutely agree. I think opposing teams should be scared going into their games against the Sky this season. And like you said, we'll get into our expectations for them and where we would rank them going into this next season. But I think they should be very scared of seeing Kamilla and Angel in the front court. There's very few teams in the league, I think, that can compete with that. The guards in this league are phenomenal, but very few teams in the WNBA have two dominant bigs in the front court that can just out rebound, every single team on the market, can block shots, can finish at the rim, as now we're seeing Angel doing. And yeah, I think they should be very scared. Since we teased it, let's get into it. Let's get into where we would rank the Sky going into this next season. Obviously, we got some time. This could change. Training camp is still 2, 3, 4 something weeks away. So we'll revisit this when we get closer to the season. But for now, as all the offseason leagues are over, Steven, where do you rank the Sky going into the 2025 season? Go for it.
I think before we rank them, we should rank maybe the teams that we see ahead of them, maybe in a different tier than them. So
Okay.
I'll rattle off some team names, and you let me know if you think they are ahead, like a tier ahead of this guy, or if you feel like they're in the same tier, and we can kind of have a conversation through that. So let's start with the defending champion, New York Liberty. Do you have them in the same tier as the Sky or ahead of the Sky?
Ahead of the Sky.
For sure. Same. What about the Minnesota Lynx, the team that was also in the finals that made a run at something historic against the odds last season? Don't think too much.
Oh,
Don't
I'm
think
gonna
don't think too hard on that one.
I'm gonna say ahead.
Yes, I think so
Okay,
too.
you feel the same? Okay.
Yes. What about the Las Vegas Aces?
Oh, ahead. Yeah, it's got to be. We're talking
And
super teams here.
what about the Indiana Fever?
Now, last season I would have said same tier. This season I think they've added a lot of talent. So I'm going to say same tier, but Indiana is at the top of that tier that they're in, if that makes sense.
Okay. I can see that. I think they are ahead of the Chicago Sky at the moment.
Okay.
Obviously, the work has to be put in, but if we're assessing them off of the rosters on paper right now, I think they are ahead of them. I would tier personally the Liberty and the Lynx as the class of the league. They were the two best teams from start to finish all regular season, and naturally that translated to the playoffs, which is why we saw them have a historic finals when it was all intriguing and came down to the final seconds of the final game. I think they're still the class. Everybody's trying to play catch up, even with the teams that made some top tier moves. Everyone's still trying to catch up to those two teams. So they're in the tier of their own. I think after that is where it starts to get interesting, though, because I don't think the Aces start this season in that tier. I think they're at the top of that second tier of teams.
Okay.
And I think it's them. I think it's the Indiana Fever. And honestly, it might just be those two by my eye that are in that next tier that's right underneath the top two tier teams. And then this is where it starts to get interesting, because if we're talking about those four being the top four, there's only 4 more playoff spots available. I think that's where it becomes very interesting and intriguing. I think at the top of that third tier of teams is the Phoenix Mercury, the top end talent that they've added. The ways those pieces kind of complement one another, I think that puts them at the top of this tier that I'm speaking that the Chicago Sky will be in. I think the Seattle Storm stakes some claim in this tier as well. I don't think the Seattle Storm are ahead of the Chicago Sky, though.
Yeah,
I
I
think it
agree.
goes, I think it goes Mercury. It gets a little tough after that. I'll slot the Sky in right underneath the Mercury in this third tier, kind of rounding out the playoffs. Do you agree with that, or where would you have the Sky in that next tier?
I'm a little bit more pessimistic, just, generally as a person, but I think I don't have them right underneath the Mercury. I do have them above the Storm for sure. But I think we need to look at the Sparks.
Los Angeles. I knew you were gonna mention them. Yeah, talk about it.
And possibly even the Wings, maybe. So yeah, I don't have them right under Mercury. I think for sure the Sparks are above them. And I think you could maybe slot Dallas above them as well. And then Sky Storm.
Question for you. So the Atlanta Dream made some literal big moves. They're the only team that can match up with multiple bigs that can basically exude the same qualities that Angel and Kamilla do. In addition to Ryan Howard and the rest of the crew that they have down there. Bunch of dogs down there in Atlanta with the brand new head coach as well, new system. Yeah. Gonna be interesting to keep an eye on them. Do you have them like neck and neck with the Chicago Sky? Do you feel like they're maybe a half step ahead of the Sky or behind them in that third tier, rounding out the playoffs? Where's your mind there on that?
I'm gonna put them directly neck and neck with the Sky. I think if we're looking at, like, let's pretend we're looking at playoff standings, I think they're right next to each other and it comes down to a tiebreaker. That is my prediction.
Okay. So I'm putting you on the spot here then. So those last 4
Oh,
playoff
no,
spots.
don't do that.
Yep. That's what we're doing. The last 4 playoff spots. We got the Storm, the Mercury,
Okay.
the Sky. You mentioned the Wings, the Dream, and the Sparks.
Okay.
How are you
This
ranking
is
those final 4 teams of that 6-team group? As far as if the playoffs were starting today, where would you have those teams at?
all right. I'm not going to think too hard about it. I'm just going to go. We're going to do Mercury.
Okay.
We're going to do Sparks.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do Wings, and we're going to do. Oh, I want to say the Sky so bad. I want to say it. I'm not going to say it. It's going to. No, I'm going to say it. Okay, no, I'm not going to say it. It's going to be the Dream. I'm sorry. If they make the playoffs, please don't bring this clip back. Like, I'm so sorry. What about you? What's your final 4?
Okay, my final 4, I got the Mercury. I'm gonna go. These teams are gonna be so fun to watch this season. I'll preface with that. But I got the Mercury, I'll go Sky, and then I'll go Dream, and then I'll go Sparks.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
But I'll also throw a little caveat in there. I'm not underrating the Seattle Storm. I think they're gonna be very much in everybody's way. I just feel like if those 4 teams that I mentioned have a hot start, that might be what kind of catapults and makes some separation of that kind of foursome group that we've been speaking to, of those 6 teams at the bottom of that play-in vying race. And I think that, especially with this season being extended to, is it, I believe, 44 games, if I'm not mistaken, that's going to make the regular season in terms of data collecting with these teams just that much more fun to kind of dive into. So it's going to be musical chairs, especially in that group of teams. It's going to be fun to watch the parity that exists between all of the teams in the playoffs, or in the playoff race, rather. And I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah. Let's check in on the chat. There's a lot of disagreement going on. Fast saying Sky is definitely better than Sparks. I saw somebody else earlier. Oh, here it is. Uncle J.E. saying Cam coming back from an ACL. That's a 2-year recovery. So, maybe we won't see Cam on the Sparks back right away. Excuse me.
Mhm.
Tulip Play saying Phoenix doesn't even have a point guard, no bench, just 3 good players, 2 of whom are injury prone. Couple other people saying that we're underrating Seattle, and then several people saying that the Sky are going to be in that like 5 or 6 range. Obviously, I had them much lower, so we will see who gets the last laugh. That's all I got for you.
A couple of things I want to have a rebuttal to.
Yeah.
Just something to think about, to kind of mull over as you look at these teams. When speaking about the Mercury, no, they don't have a literal point guard in terms of someone to maybe appease the level of play that some people are looking at the team with, but Satu Sabli's done a lot of primary ball handling, and she requires a certain type of attention when she does have the ball in her hands. Point forward type, if you will. Alyssa Thomas has quite literally been a point forward, one of the best point forwards over the last 6 or 7 seasons in the WNBA. So I don't think that initiating offense for them is going to be an issue, especially if their defense reaches the level that they plan for it to, meaning they'd be playing off of a lot of stops. They have 3 players that can all grab and go. That's something that's going to be an opportunity for them to bridge the gap in terms of that point guard conversation that we're having. And all 3 of them require a certain type of attention when they have the ball in their hands to initiate an offense. And then I didn't see anybody have rebuttals about the Seattle Storm, and I want to just call some attention to that. I did not have them in my final 4 to kind of round out the playoffs, but I have them right there on the fringe as a team that could honestly upset some people and put a pin in a balloon for a few team seasons if they get out to a hot start. But I just think that with so much change over there, obviously the stuff that's stemming from the offseason, the off the court stuff that was going on, I think they're gonna have some things to work through. It might take them a little bit of time. They might stumble getting out of the gates. So we'll see. We'll see about it. But I'm looking forward to having these conversations more as the season goes on.
Yeah. I think one thing for sure, We are both pumped for training camp. I cannot wait to get into that. I will hopefully be attending some of those training camp practices, and I know Steven will be doing great work at some of the Mercury practices out in Phoenix. Steven, you got anything else before we let these fine folks go?
I think that this is a perfect time to also mention to enjoy everything that's about to happen on the fireworks side of things in women's college basketball.
Yep.
It is March. This is the prime time for basketball. And as we start to get closer to training camp starting, we're going to see a lot of attention on the college circuit, and just kind of keep an eye on some names, some players that you might think will have impact come the draft in April. So, which is also right around the corner as well. Calendar
Yeah.
pages are flying by the day, and yeah, the season will be here before you know it.
Yeah, lots to watch. I will be glued to my TV over the next month. We hope to have a draft, college basketball guest on for you guys next time. But until then, hit the like button. There are not enough likes on the stream. And follow that CHGO Sky page. Follow Steven. Keep an eye on allchgo.com to see what he's writing. Become a diehard if you're not already. And yeah, enjoy this Chicago weather, man. It's not going to last forever. Have a great day. We'll see you next time, Skytown.
We all silly like the mayor.